Hi everyone, I'm Wendy, and today I'll be showing you how to use Cronometer, which is a food tracking app and website. While I don't use Cronometer every single day, I do use it occasionally, and I've talked about it on my channel before because it can be a useful tool. But I had a request to go over it in a little more detail, so let's dive right in. There is a paid version, but anyone can sign up for a free account, and that's what I use, so that's what I'll be showing you today. If you don't have an account, you'll simply go to cronometer.com. And a heads up that there's no H. Many people think it's spelled C-H-R, but it's just C-R-O-N-O-M-E-T-E-R. Then up at the top, click on Sign Up, and on the next page, you'll fill in all your details to create your account. At the top is just your name, email, and password, and then some basic details. This information is used to determine an estimate of your energy needs. Then at the bottom, you'll have to agree to the terms of service, and the last two boxes are optional if you want to join the email newsletter, and this last box for personalized ads within the app. Once you submit this form, it'll send you an email to confirm your account, and then you'll be able to log in. Since I already have an account, I'll go back to cronometer.com and then click on Login at the top, enter my email and password, and log in. This takes you to your dashboard. And as you can see, there's not really much on mine because I don't use Cronometer every day. But if you did, some of these stats and graphs would be filled in here. Up in the top right-hand corner, if you click on Account, it'll show you what type of account you have. As you can see, I'm just using the basic free account. But here you could learn more about the paid versions. If you go over to the menu on the left, the diary is where you would log your food and activity. But first, I want to show you this More section where you can go to the targets and profile information. This is where you can adjust the information that will affect what targets Cronometer sets for you. First, you can make adjustments to the macronutrient settings. So if you have a particular macronutrient ratio that you want to follow, you could put what percentage of protein, carbs, and fat you want to aim for. The next section is for if you have a particular fitness goal. For example, if you're trying to lose weight or if you're a bodybuilder trying to gain weight, you could use this section to determine how many calories you'd need to add or subtract every day to meet that goal. As you keep scrolling, the next section is where you can adjust your activity level. The baseline activity can be adjusted from preset estimates that range from sedentary to highly active, or can be connected with a fitness device like a Fitbit. The basal metabolic rate is basically the minimum amount of calories our bodies use just to exist. They also have an option here that you can turn on for the thermic effect of food, which is basically how many calories you burn in the digestion of food itself. For me personally, I don't update any of this information because I don't actually use the calorie targets, but if that's something that's important to you, you would want to make sure this information is accurate. Then here you can change what nutrients are visible within the diary. Again, I've never messed with these settings, I just go with the default. Finally, at the bottom, if you need to change your weight or any other basic info, you can do that here. So now that we've gone through the settings, let's come back up to the menu on the left and click on Diary. This is where you would input your food and exercise, and they have some other options too, but today I'm only showing you how to log your food. So you can put food in the uncategorized section, or they break it out by breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks, so you can separate out where the food shows up. I'll start with breakfast, so just click that, and then I'm going to click on the Add Food button here, which brings up their database of foods. You can search for anything, and they have tons of different options to choose from. So for example, I have oatmeal for breakfast. You can type in oatmeal or oats. I'm going to start typing oatmeal, and it gives all different options from dry or cooked steel-cut oats and anything else that has oatmeal in the title. But you can even search for particular brands. You could look for Bob's Red Mill steel-cut oats, or maybe you use 1 Degree organic oats. Of course, they don't have absolutely every possible option, but it's nice that you can find particular brands for more accuracy. Once you find the food you want, go down to the bottom and you'll select the amount. Usually it auto-selects whatever might be considered a serving size, but you can adjust this. So for example, here it's showing 1 serving of a 1/4 cup, but I usually have twice that amount. So I'm going to change this to 2 servings, which now would be a 1/2 cup. But if you wanted, you can also change the unit here, so instead of using a 1/4 cup, you could change it to ounces or grams. On the left here, it shows a little snapshot of the macro breakdown of that individual food, and you'll click Add to Diary, and it pops up here in the breakfast section. Once you add a food, you'll see the graphs here start to fill out. So right now, since we only have one food added, the energy summary here matches the macronutrient breakdown for just the oats. And down at the bottom is the micronutrients for the oats. I'm not going to sit here and add a bunch of different things, but let me add just a couple more so you can get the idea and see some more examples. Let's stick with breakfast and add another food item. Let's say I had a banana with my oatmeal. So I'll type in banana and click on bananas raw. Again, down at the bottom, it shows the macros for the banana, and it defaults to 1 medium banana. But you could change this to any of the other options. So if you were mashing the bananas to use in a recipe, you might want to use that option. Or if you wanted to be even more accurate, you could choose the ounces option and weigh the banana. But for this, I'm just going to leave it at 1 medium banana and add that. Again, now you can see the macros here have changed. So now this is the combination of the oats and the banana, and the same goes for the micronutrients. If you keep clicking the Add Food button, it's going to keep adding things to your breakfast section. So let's add another one. Let's say we put some flax seeds on the oatmeal. I'm searching for ground flax seeds. Again, you can look for particular brands, and this one defaults to a 2 tablespoon serving, so let's add that. And now I'm ready to switch over to lunch. I'll simply click on the lunch section. Let's say we have some steamed kale. I'll search for kale, and I'm going to pick the cooked from fresh option. And now you can see instead of breakfast, it's showing that this is going to be added to lunch. But if you were in the wrong one, you can simply change it from right here as well. Again, choose how much you want to add and then add it. So now that pops up under the lunch section. That's basically all there is to it. In order to show you a little more of the macro and micronutrient section, I'm going to jump to another day where I did input all my food already. So up here at the top right-hand corner is a calendar, and it has the day I'm recording this highlighted. But I can click back on any other day. I haven't input anything for a while, so none of these are highlighted here. So I'm going to go back to January, and as you can see, the days that are highlighted are the days where information has been entered. So I'll click on one of these. So now that you see all my food entered here, I can show you a little more about what you can do within Cronometer. If you need to change things, you can highlight the food you want to change and double-click to change the number of servings or the unit. And when you have only one item highlighted, if you scroll down, it'll show you the nutrition for that one item alone. You can also highlight an entire section by clicking on the title. So if I click on breakfast, it'll highlight everything in my breakfast section, and now the macro and micronutrients will show everything I had for breakfast. Or you can highlight particular items. So you'll click on one and then hit the Shift button on your keyboard, and you can click more items. Otherwise, if you don't have anything in particular selected, you'll see your nutrition for the entire day. Scrolling down, here in the energy summary section, it shows you your calories. The first chart is the number of calories you've consumed. The second box is the number of calories that it's estimating you need. This is based on the information that we input at the beginning, including the basal metabolic rate and your activity level. As I said before, my information is not necessarily accurate since I haven't updated it. But if everything was accurate, theoretically this should be a pretty good estimate of the amount of calories you might need. The last chart is the number of calories you are over or under the target. So if you were trying to gain or lose weight, these numbers would be different based on that information. Continuing on, we'll find all of the micronutrients. The gray bars indicate you have not met the target, the green bars mean you hit the target, and the red bars mean you're way over the target. So on mine, it's showing red for all of the macronutrients, and that's because, if you remember, it was showing that I went over the number of calories recommended. This section can be useful if you're worried about particular nutrients. Many people often worry about protein on a plant-based diet, so you can see how many grams of protein you're getting, as well as how much you're getting of particular amino acids. As you can see, I'm getting plenty of protein and a nice balance of amino acids. And then of course, people worry about vitamins and minerals. Obviously, it's great if you have green bars, but on the ones that you don't hit the target, what's really cool is you can hover over different items and it'll tell you what foods that nutrient is coming from based on what you've entered. So for example, I didn't hit the target for calcium. If I hover over calcium, it shows me where I got it from for this day. So 23% of my calcium was coming from arugula, 11% from broccoli, 7% from sweet potatoes, and so on. So you could use this information to help you on the next day trying to eat more of those foods to hit the calcium target. Those are all the basics you need to know to get started with Cronometer, but there are other things you can do if you wanted to get more detailed. Like I mentioned earlier, you can also add exercise. Over here on the right side, there's a place where you can track water intake. And if you are tracking every day, you can also copy things over from one day to the next. So for example, let's say I had the same oatmeal the next day. So I would simply highlight the items I wanted to copy, right-click, and select Copy to Today. Or you could do the copy selected items, pick a different day, and then paste. If you need to delete something, you would delete it the same way by right-clicking and selecting Delete. Back over in the left side menu under the Food section, it's also possible to save custom recipes and custom meals. You would select Create Meal, give it a title, and then add the components of the meal just like we did in the diary. And custom recipes is really similar. You add all of the ingredients for an entire recipe, and then you can break it down by serving sizes. These options are really useful because you do all of that work once and save it. So every time you eat that meal, you would simply add the custom recipe or meal instead of having to add every individual ingredient each time, which would be a major time saver if you were tracking every day. But like I said, I don't track every day, and I don't think it's necessary. For some people, it's really useful and they love having that information. It can also be really useful if you've recently changed anything in your diet to make sure you're still getting balanced nutrition, or to show your family that you're not going to die of a protein deficiency or anything else. So hit the thumbs up if this was useful, and let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.